Hey, it's Kunst here, and for this video I decided to just do an old-fashioned review of the Bf-109G, one of my favorite light fighters. So with this plane, it hits hard, it's fast, it has good altitude, and it could take a beating. So if we look at the gun armament here, it has a 30 and 2 machine guns, and the cumulative damage is 280. Okay, you think, oh, not bad, right? But if we look at all the other Tier 7 light fighters, 460, 440, 470, 380, 300. So I think, how can this Bf-109, usually they have really good firepower, be the lowest at Tier 7? And trust me, it struck me as being pretty weird also. And the distance, less than 600 meters, so you have to get really close. But what makes up for it is the crit damage that you can get with this 30. Even though it doesn't pump out the most damage, if you make a pass, almost certainly you can, more chances than not, you're going to get a crit. And you can use those to your advantage a lot. You can get more crits than with the Bf-109 than with this, and this. This one, the Key 84 does get a lot of crits because it has 30s also. But that's one of the key things, and some people don't like that the range is so short, but I think it's actually an advantage because with something like this, it's got a range of 700. Let's see what this has. 760. They're like, oh great, I can hit targets out to 760, right? But what ends up happening is when you're coming in to attack an aircraft, right when the distance turns yellow to inform you like it's good to fire, you start firing from a little bit further out, and you're not getting your full damage. And then when you're close, your guns are already heated up, so you have to let your guns cool down and then fire again. So you really have to manage that with aircraft that get up to close to 800, because it can be misleading. And what I found on the I-220, it has 700, but I had to get really close to make it count. I don't think you could even do full damage at 700 with these 20s here. It's just kind of weird how some things work out. So to me, this isn't a handicap. To me, this is better because I don't have to worry about trying to time my shots. I know I just, once it hits 600, I'm firing, and that makes it a lot easier for me. So going to the survivability, as I mentioned, it's tough. Has 300 hit points, and its damage is 40, and fire damage is 45, and fire is 40, which it would be a lot higher, but I have the upgraded engine, I have the boost polished, so I went for a full speed build, as you can see here. And for some reason, it holds up. Get the Meteor, 40 and 30. So a lot of these planes aren't as durable. This one is, for some weird reason. But the Key 84, 46 and 30. I-20, 45 and 30. And this was pretty good also. So it's up there with being one of the tougher light fighters in Tier 7. And this is the highlight. This is where it shines. 624 cruise and 804 boost. Check out the Meteor. I can go faster than the Meteor. And all the other aircraft here pale in comparison. I cruise almost as fast as their top speed. And that is just insane. Nobody can touch you unless you're going on a head-on. And that is one of the key things about this aircraft with the full speed build. You can just escape. You can just control everything that you're doing. Of course, maneuverability suffers. As you can see, it's only 67. It's still workable, but you can't really ever get into a turn fight. And lastly, the altitude. Nothing can really compete with your altitude. See, that's 44, 49, 48. Only the I-220 can come close at 59, and the Mustang. But I can easily out-damage this guy, and I can out-turn the Mustang. So that's a quick hangar review of this. After I throw up some replays or clips of this highlighting those attributes, we're going to give it a rating on my original Kunstler Scale, and that will be my review of this plane. So let's pull up some clips to show firepower and the toughness, ruggedness of the Bf-109G Gustav. So in this first clip, I want to show the zoom capabilities. I'm going to make a zoom climb up to this F7F, and take him out pretty quickly. Even though he's already low health, but just look at the speed I can go while climbing. I'm at 623, my cruise speed. I dive a little bit to get some speed, and I'm coming up. I activate the boost cooling to get some extra boost, and I'm climbing faster than a lot of other aircraft's top speed, the level flight. And he doesn't pose too much of a problem. I miss him on the first pass, but I come back. I'm able to... Oh, I guess I set him on fire. So that was one instance of being able to zoom, climb up faster than a lot of other planes in this tier's dive speed. And here I want to show the ruggedness of the Bf-109G. I'm going to make an attack on this PE-2, and I think I'm going to kill him before I actually do, and I end up ramming him. But I still survive even though I end up ramming a bomber. So check this out. Coming up from behind, wait until I'm about 600, then I'm firing away, a little closer. Putting good damage in. But he gets my pilot, and that's what affects, but I get a ramming attack and I'm still able to take him out. So if he wouldn't have got my pilot, I definitely would have took him out there. But the Bf-109G was able to survive that. And that's a good example of its toughness right there. So here's an example of me diving on a GA, and it shows the excellent dive speed, it shows the firepower, and it shows it has just enough maneuverability to pull up and avoid crashing into the ground. And I pretty much end up hydroplaning here, but just see the raw power that this plane has. Coming in, I want to make a full attack, and I'm able to pull up at the last second. That was some hydroplane in action right there. End up getting the sector here, but I finish off this GA. I have enough alpha, I have enough damage to take him out. I don't know if you saw, but there was a big chunk of his health came off, and those are the 30s doing their work. So that shows the dive, it shows the raw power, and just enough maneuverability to get by. Not great, not good at all, but just enough. And in this situation, I had just killed the enemy player, and I think as we were dogfighting, he sent this Bf-109G against me, the same plane as I'm in, because I see he's following me. So since I know he's following me, I want to drag him over to the mining plant and kill him in there. But he ends up going for a ram, and even though I'm get rammed by him, I'm still able to win that engagement. So let's check this out. Yeah, I'm just tracking him on the minimap, and I see he's coming for me. He was sent to attack me. So I make sure he's in, and I make a turn, and I'm expecting him to pull away. But he goes for it, and I'm able to survive that. And I did more damage to him than he did to me. I would have got around him, but luckily my teammate gets him. And then doing that helped us get this mining plant. Oh, and I also wanted to mention, don't be afraid to shoot at ground targets with this plane. Even though it's not recommended, I understand that, but you do have a 30mm in here. So if you see the ground target, even though it's a bunker with low hit points like that, make a couple passes at it, because you can do some damage. It's not like you're a Mustang where you can only try to set stuff on fire. So that was one instance of ramming, surviving, and still being able to come out on top. And here are the end plates of one of the battles I just had. Akumatsu is pretty standard. Wing Legend, pretty standard. Nothing too crazy. But what I wanted to highlight was how I was talking about. It's fast, it's tough, and it hits hard. And that's the way you gotta play. You gotta play it as a quick hitter, hit and run, boom and zoom type of thing. Even though it doesn't have the best, probably has the worst damage of the tier in raw numbers and DPS, but what it makes up for is this critical hits. 9 of the 15 targets that I destroyed, I was able to crit them. So that's like what 70, a range in like the 75% range that you're gonna get a crit, and you have to use that to your advantage. So right when especially if you go head to head with someone, pay attention to what they crit. If they crit the engine, climb up to make them stall. If they crit the pilot, just turn around and go another head to head because you know they can't hit you as hard. If you critted a wing, make a turn. That's like kind of the way you have to play it. So I love this plane. I love the performance of it. So now we'll go to the last part of the review, where I give it a final rating according to the Kunstler Scale, with its altitude, speed, firepower, and turning performance. So looking at the Bf-109G on the Kunstler Scale, the first rating for altitude, I had to give it a 5 out of 5, because as you saw in the hangar, nothing else really comes close to it. Sure, the Mustang can hang around up there, but the 109G has the engine power and the speed to zoom up there, and it has the engine capabilities to stay there in dogfight. So I had to give it a 5. Speed, as you also saw, with 800 kph top speed and over 600 for its cruise speed, nothing else can touch this in terms of speed. Its cruise speed is almost faster than some top speeds of other light tier 7 light fighters. So it's pretty much untouchable in terms of speed with my full speed build, as you saw. Firepower, this was the tricky one because although in raw DPS numbers, it's the lowest output for damage of the tier, but as I explained, it gives you an enhanced crit performance. So I think to balance that out, I couldn't give it a 2, because I know if I go head to head with the Mustang, an I-220, probably even a Meteor, I know I can come out on top of that engagement. Plus, it's a good rammer. So I can't give it a full 4, but I think if a good number is a 3, it falls right in line to what you need it to do. And lastly, its turn or maneuverability. It's not the best, obviously, in a flat, if you're just talking about flat turn times, but the Mustang is worse. But naturally, I may have wanted to give this a 2, but what bumped it up to a 3 for me is its climbing rate, ability to zoom, and its ability to play in the vertical. And to me, that also comes into play in the turn. Turning is not just a horizontal plane; it's also the vertical. So I gave it a 3. So if we add all that up, we get a 16 on the Kunstler scale. And looking at the legend on the left, that puts it as under Das Gut, right on the cusp of being Uber. And I think that's a perfect rating for this aircraft. It's not Uber in itself, but if you do the extreme speed build, you can use the firepower, you use its ruggedness, you zoom, you dive, and the package all together. I think that's pretty appropriate for that. And looking at my stats on this real quick, and sorry, this is gonna blow up your screen. I average about 4.65 aerial targets destroyed per sortie. The game rounds up anything under over 50. So I would want to get this number closer to 5 in itself. And as you can see on here, almost 72% win rate. This app sees that as good, but my damage is not that great. And I think this directly correlates with the fact that it's the lowest output damage gun. So I don't pump out as much damage, but what I'm not doing in damage, I'm doing in crits. And I think there's something to be said about that. This is a session, and I thought this was the damage I was doing, but then after looking at it, it's just the same number as this. So this wasn't very useful to show here, but it's there. I wish it showed my average damage for those 4 battles. But those are my statistics in it. And just to sum it up, speed, power, crit, altitude, and those are all of the key components of the Bf-109G, which makes it one of my favorite light fighters. So that was it. That's good in my book, and I'll see you guys next time.